Good afternoon. Just want to start by saying went through and evaluated our offense after the game was over and early on Sunday morning. And you go back and look at the data. You know, we've in 4 FBS games have only scored 3 touchdowns in meaningful minutes, and just not good enough. And I believe we can need to be much better, have to be much better. And so just felt like this was the timing to be able to, with the bye week, make a change, and have decided to name Rod Carey as our new offensive coordinator. And just really excited about the time we spent together the last 2 years. You know, was a lot defensively a year ago, working with that side of the ball and as a quality control personnel, and then just a chance to help us even as head coach to head coach, and with his vast experience as a head coach and experience as offensive coordinator, and obviously helped us last year with the offensive line and all different things to allow us to be able to improve in those areas. So just excited about having him here with us, and obviously played here, loves Indiana, passionate about Indiana football, and wants to help us get where we need to be. So excited about having Rod here with us. So we're going to have him come today, and don't want to have any, not going to address anything personnel-wise or schematically at this time. Just want to introduce him as our new office coordinator. So appreciate you, Rod.
Oh, you know what? Hey, can we ever get a flat podium? I mean, this is going to fall. Yeah, no, yeah. Funny guy. All right, so hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm excited about it. Just, obviously the way it happened, you're never excited about that. That's not. I've been in Tom's shoes before. Those are hard choices, and I have a lot of sympathy for the choice that he had to make, and then obviously for Coach Bell. I think the world of Coach Bell. I got the opportunity to work as quality control this year on that side of the ball, obviously before this change, and developed a relationship with him. So the personal side of this is hard. The business side is real. I think we all get it. We just ain't been good enough, guys, on offense. I mean, and it's my charge to get us better. I wouldn't have taken it if I didn't think I could. So that's going to be the mindset that we can. Now I'm not going to take a snap. I did that here, and I can't do it no more. So, but I think we can make a difference, and those differences are coming together. So let me head this off before I start questions, because you guys probably got a million, and there's some I'm going to answer, and some I can't, and some I won't. There's nothing you can do midseason as far as setup. The setup is the setup. The offense is the offense. And so what you're trying to do is get us to run those plays better and maybe do it with a different little flair here and there. That's about all you can do. And I'm excited about it. I think the guys are too, being with the offense the last 2 days and the offensive staff. We've had flashes, so we need to make those flashes more permanent light on type deal. So with that, I can open it up for questions, guys. And like I said, some I will, some I can't, and some I won't.
All right, Matt, start us off. Let Rod know who you are, please.
Hey, Coach. Matt.
Our kids go to school together up in Gary.
Matt Weaver, 247 Sports, Peegs.com. Last year, when you took over the O-line, you said there's no magic wand I can wave to make it better. Obviously, I'm sure it's the same for this. And you just kind of talked about it a little bit. But I guess what's your mindset? What's your process when you come in midstream and you got a game in 10 days?
Yeah, it's not ideal, right? So thought process is, do what we can, to maybe simplify, to, maybe accentuate some things that we can do those more. It's really the little things. And you said it, I didn't. I caught a lot of crap from my brother-in-law. He said, "Are you going to use that term again?" There's no magic wand. But so you said it, I didn't. But there is not a magic wand here. It's the little things. It's the details, and really with the setup with the staff too, and how we're going to approach things. So those little things tend to make a big difference.
Mike Nisley, Herald Times. Rod, in terms of the quarterbacks, are you taking on Walt's role, kind of working with them directly, position coach wise? And then is the starting quarterback a question you can't answer or won't answer?
Both on the last one. Okay. But yeah, I'm going to do the quarterbacks on that. And, in my role as quality control, I was, you're in those meetings, you're not allowed to speak, but, you're in taking notes. So I have good familiarity of what they've been taught. And like I say, I'll reiterate again. I think Coach Bell is a good fundamental teacher. So I think that part is in place.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. I guess just following on maybe not just quarterbacks, but especially if that is the position you're working with, just I guess what's your approach to working with guys? You talk about understandably, there's not time to just sort of tear it apart and build it back from the ground up. What's the approach to working with, whether it's quarterbacks or another position group, just basically, I guess, approaching the players where they are and just kind of trying to figure out what you can do for them in a short space of time to get them more comfortable with the stuff you need to be better at?
Well, the first thing that we did is we were just honest with him. And you have to do that. Right? Why are we in this situation? Why is Coach Allen making this? We haven't been good enough. So, we had to have that conversation, and they got that. As far as how to approach it with them and get them excited, they are. There's a crazy thing. They see the flashes, and they know, and they have good confidence. And, they're upset. So there isn't a lot of, one for the Gipper speeches that you got to do here. They want to be good, and they have a lot of energy to do that. So I don't think there's a problem on any side of that, the honesty and then the excitement. I think that's my job, just to get in there and prod that along more. Does that make sense? Okay. But
Coach Mason Williams, the Hoosier.com. You've spoke a lot here recently about the flashes that this offense has shown. Are there any sort of drastic changes you need to make to have those become more consistent, or is that just, like you said, you kind of prodding it out of them more?
yeah, there's no time to make drastic changes. So it's going to be the small details that we have to do that are going to add up to a difference. Okay. If I didn't believe that, I would not be standing in front of you. And I told Coach Allen that too. If I didn't believe that, not just me, but us, and as we go forward, can we make a difference? Yeah, I do believe that.
Yeah, I'm Jack Ankeny, SI Indiana.
Hi, Jack.
Nice to meet you. When you look at the offense personnel-wise, or I guess scheme, are there things that you look and say that you feel like the offense can be successful doing?
Yeah, there are probably some things that we've done that we need to do more of that's been successful, right? I mean, listen, this is the cheap seats version of it. Like, you see something that you've done good, and we just need to do more of it, right? You see something that hasn't been as productive, you just don't do that anymore. So that's the cheap seats version, but that's what we've been spending our time trying to identify as a staff. That's one of the little things that we can do.
All right, Daniel on the right and Daniel on the center.
Hey, Coach. Daniel, also SI Indiana. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
I think you mentioned in one of your answers there just benefit of maybe simplifying reads for some of the guys in the offense. Like, just not asking you like for specifically with the players on the team, but just in general football. Like, how do you see like when you simplify reads for maybe a quarterback or just all the players in offense, how it helps them?
Yeah, well, maybe you misconstrued me on that. Simplifying the offense is what it means. So their, reads necessarily aren't going to change, but maybe we're going to do more of the ones that they read better and less of the ones that they don't read as well. And so that's probably more in line of what we're going to get done.
Daniel Flick, IDS. Last year, obviously it's kind of uncommon to have, the way that you came in last year, I believe it's almost a year to the day of.
Is it?
Maybe a week short, but pretty close.
Really?
Week short?
That's
October
weird.
9th.
You just weirded me out.
Okay, sorry. Pretty close. Apologies. Yeah, but so obviously kind of uncommon the way that, it's like what now, a few years, kind of consecutively mid-season. What did you learn last year in that process that you feel like can kind of help you now?
Yeah, probably the things that I've been saying. Like last year, there wasn't time to change, what had been taught. Because, and then we had played Maryland right after that. Like we didn't have a bye week, right, Jeff? When I came on in as the O-line, I think it was like a 5 day. So, I mean, there's a little bit of a breath here that we have. But the thing you glean from that situation, this one is you have to take what is existing, do what you're doing in that existing stuff better, and what you're not doing good, just don't do that anymore. Does that make sense? Okay.
Rod, Pete DePremio, IU Athletics. Two-part. One, you still hope that the offense would be a run-first type approach. And two, the ability to deceive the defense. Because if they know what you're doing, that obviously is a big problem. What can you do to maybe accentuate that, help that along?
Okay, so I'm glad you asked that question. You asked it a little different than I thought I was going to get it. I'm just going to tell you I have a real easy philosophy on offense. You ask me, what do you like on offense? I say, what works? That's really what it is. What works? Misdirection, running, throwing, controlling the ball, controlling the game. I believe that offenses control games, and defenses play really well when an offense can control a game. Doesn't always go like that for everybody all the time. That's just not how it goes. But Coach Allen and I I follow his lead, and we've talked a lot about this and in our course and from my time being a head coach, that's the belief, is that if we can control the game, you obviously have to score points, but you got to control the game. Your defense is going to play great, and you're going to get a lot of opportunities on offense. So yes to all of the above for you, okay? Misdirection, running, throwing, yes. I like what works, and that's what we're in the middle of trying to figure out.
Mike and Zach.
In terms of play calling, I think you only did it in 2012. What have you kind of learned? I mean, it's been a minute, so kind of when you look back and things you've learned, how do you incorporate that now? And you could kind of feel excited about that and kind of.
That's the last time I was an offensive coordinator, but that's not last time I called plays. So, Well, I mean, listen, I'm an offensive guy and had two really good offensive coordinators, and they did a good job. But there was time I was heavily involved in that and doing some of that. And we never made that a big deal, But so been doing that basically my whole career. So what have I learned from now till then? Do what works. I mean, I hate to be simple with it, guys, but we kind of have to be. If we make it too complicated, no one's going to be any good. So now it's modern offense. So it's not like we're just going to line up in the eye and go, right three, Don. We're not doing that. But we're going to be simple. We're going to be simple. Only he gets that because that was a play call from Coach Mal. Still's burned in my head. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say Don would probably prefer that. That's probably the play he would call if he. Just following on from the question about last year, I recognize you're in meetings, you're around everything already, but how much maybe do you draw on that experience of being in, leading an offensive line room with this team specifically and in this offense specifically, leading the line room, being in game planning, the fact that you've had that experience kind of stepping into, obviously in some ways, an even sort of more prominent role within this group now? Yeah,
I told them last year, it's a really good question. When I got up in front of the offense here on Sunday and I talked to him, I said, talked about all that, but I said, I'm really excited because I've been around you guys. Last year when I was on the defensive side. I mean, you want to talk about coming in and barely knowing names. I was like, what was your name again? Oh, yeah, that's right, number 53. Okay, got that. This year, much more familiarity. Now, it's been centered around the quarterbacks, but already having that relationship with the O-line and being here for an off season. Obviously, you get to know about everybody. There's some guys I got to develop those relationships with, no doubt, because in quality control role, you're in the backgrounds. You're around, but you're in the backgrounds.
Coach, obviously the relationship that you have with Allen, with some of the offensive guys already, was probably a big factor into you being the one that's elevated into this position. But what was that conversation like when Allen approached you and asked you to be his guy?
It's a double-edged sword. I think that he was very heavy-hearted because he knows the personal cost on that with Coach Bell. And, so it wasn't like I'm sitting in there jumping for joy because I had a heavy heart too. But at the same time, there was good excitement from both of us, but very tempered because of, the transition and how difficult those things can be. So it was a double-edged sword. It was good and bad at the same time. Like, I don't know how else to describe it.
And the last one.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about a lot with Walt in his final few weeks was execution, specifically red zone execution. I'm curious, when you kind of look back at the first 5 weeks of the year, what do you feel like needs to improve over the last 7?
You got to get the ball across the goal line. I mean, that's about as easy as it can get. And that's everybody's execution on this. And starts with me, goes to the position coaches, goes to the players and the quarterback, obviously. We all carry that responsibility. And so we have to get the ball across the goal line. So by hook or crook, right? That's what we got to do.
All right. Thanks, Rod.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.